The hospital doors swung open with a jarring clang, echoing down the sterile corridors, and every head in the emergency wing turned as a small, bloodied girl was rushed in. Her clothes were torn, her hands trembling, and her face pale and streaked with dirt and tears. Behind her, a massive police dog charged in, its powerful frame tense, nostrils flaring, and eyes scanning the room with an intensity that froze everyone in place. The dog's name was Rex, and in that instant he was not just a trained canine. He was a living shield, a guardian determined to protect the little girl at all costs. The scene was chaotic, yet there was an almost cinematic pause as time seemed to stretch, capturing the raw fear and desperate courage that hung in the air. If you believe in kindness, bravery, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel because stories like these remind us of the true power of love and loyalty. The nurses and doctors scrambled, their professional calm tested by the unusual pair. The girl, barely 10 years old, had been found on the outskirts of the city after an accident that left her injured and alone. Yet, despite her physical fragility, there was a fierce spark in her eyes, a spark that seemed mirrored in Rex's unwavering stare. The bond between them was immediate and undeniable. It was as though the dog knew her pain, her fear, and her need for protection more than anyone in that hospital ever could. Rex wasn't just a trained police dog. He had a past riddled with moments that tested the very limits of his loyalty and courage. Years of patrolling dangerous streets, chasing down criminals, and saving lives had carved into him an instinctive sense of duty. But it had also left him wary, cautious, sometimes even aggressive toward strangers. Yet, when he first encountered the girl, something in her vulnerability broke through his hardened exterior. He became more than a protector, he became a lifeline. The girl was carried swiftly into the emergency room, her small body shaking with shock and pain. Nurses worked frantically, cleaning wounds, assessing injuries, and trying to stabilize her. All the while, Rex remained close, never once letting anyone approach too near. His breathing was heavy, his paws planted firmly on the floor, and his gaze unwaveringly fixed on the girl. Staff had seen police dogs before, but none had ever displayed this depth of emotion, this quiet yet unyielding devotion. As minutes passed, the tension in the room began to shift. The girl's tears slowed as she became aware of Rex beside her. The massive dog lowered his head, letting her reach out and touch his fur. Her fingers, small and trembling, pressed against his rough coat, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she exhaled, releasing a little of the fear that had gripped her heart. It was a simple gesture, but one that spoke volumes. It was trust, pure and unspoken, forming between a child and a creature whose life was built on protection. The doctors worked meticulously, stabilizing her injuries, stitching her wounds, and keeping a close watch on her vital signs. But the real miracle wasn't just the medical care. It was the emotional anchor that Rex had become. Whenever she flinched in pain or whimpered from the anxiety that gripped her, Rex nudged her gently, placing his massive head on her lap, offering comfort only a creature with unconditional loyalty could give. Nurses whispered among themselves, astonished by the rare sight of such deep, instinctive empathy in a trained police dog. Outside the room, the girl's parents, frantic with worry, had been informed of the situation. Their hearts were heavy with guilt and fear, knowing that circumstances beyond anyone's control had brought their daughter to this state. They arrived just in time to see Rex's protective stance, his body forming a silent barrier between the world and their child. At that moment, something shifted. The parents realized that this dog, this silent, unwavering guardian, was not just a tool of the police. He was a hero. perhaps the only one who had kept their daughter safe when danger had lurked too close for comfort. Hours passed in a blur of medical procedures, whispered reassurances, and moments of quiet connection. The girl's breathing became more steady, her eyes brighter, and a fragile smile began to form as she realized she wasn't alone. Every time she reached for Rex, the dog responded with gentle nuzzles, careful not to startle her fragile form. It was as if he knew her pain, not just the physical kind, but the deeper ache of fear, abandonment, and uncertainty. The hospital staff, initially wary of the massive dog, began to soften as well. They watched as Rex sat by her side through every procedure, never leaving, never losing his focus. It became clear that the dog's presence wasn't just comforting the girl, it was teaching everyone around them about the purest form of courage and loyalty. No words could convey what Rex was saying through his steadfast gaze and protective posture. He had become the embodiment of resilience, showing that sometimes love and bravery come in forms we least expect. As night fell and the hospital quieted down, a sense of peace settled in the room. The girl, finally resting, leaned against Rex, and he allowed her to use him as a pillow, his eyes half closed but ever vigilant. In those quiet hours, a story of healing, trust, and bravery unfolded, a story that would leave a mark on everyone who witnessed it. The girl wasn't just recovering physically, she was finding her sense of safety, hope, and the understanding that even in the darkest moments, a bond built on trust and love could light the way forward. Near the end of her first night in the hospital, her parents sat quietly by her bedside, tears streaming, hearts heavy yet relieved. They knew that without Rex, the outcome might have been far different. And as they watched the dog's protective vigil, they understood something profound. Heroes don't always wear badges or carry guns. Sometimes heroes have fur, wagging tails, and eyes filled with unwavering courage. Before we continue to the closing moments, if this story has touched your heart even a little, take a moment to like, comment, and share. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people who need to witness the power of courage, love, and second chances. Also, please leave a comment sharing what this story made you feel. Every word matters. The morning sun streamed gently through the hospital windows, casting soft light over the small room. The girl stirred, blinking at the brightness, and Rex immediately perked up, his head tilting slightly as he observed her with concern and curiosity. It was a moment of quiet triumph. Against the odds, she had made it through the night. Against the odds, a police dog had become more than a companion. He had become family, protector, and a source of inspiration. This was more than a hospital scene. It was a testament to the strength that lies in unlikely bonds. It was proof that bravery isn't just for humans, and that even the smallest gestures, a nuzzle, a protective stance, a simple touch, can ripple out and save lives in ways words often fail to capture. The girl, now safe, healthy, and surrounded by love, had not only survived but discovered that hope often comes in the most unexpected forms. And Rex, loyal to the very end, had proven that courage, love, and steadfast loyalty could shine through even the darkest hours.